The stars above Valoria Prime had never looked so cold. Commander Zyrex Thorne stood at the shattered viewport of the Veldrani Defense Station Ka-7, watching the encroaching darkness with 4 eyes that had not blinked in hours. The Oran Collective's warships blotted out the light of 2 moons, their silhouettes vast and angular, predator shapes against a velvet sky. 17 of them. 17 dreadnoughts against Valoria Prime's last 3 functioning defense platforms. The math was not kind. Commander. Lieutenant Via touched his arm with a trembling limb. The civilian transports on the southern continent, they're still not clear of the gravity well. If the collective fires on the cities? I know. Zyrex's voice was granite. He had always prided himself on that. Steady under pressure. Calm in catastrophe. It was what made him a commander rather than a soldier. But tonight, the granite felt thin, more like ice over a deep and freezing nothing. How long until they break orbit? 40 minutes. Maybe 50. He looked at his 3 remaining platforms. 2 were already bleeding plasma from their cooling arrays. The third, Station Ka-7 itself, had half its weapons grid dark. Against 17 dreadnoughts, they could maybe hold for 20 minutes. Maybe. Zyrex had sent the distress call 11 days ago. To every allied species in the conclave. The Drevathi, the Saluan, the Twari hegemony. Every civilization that had signed the Mutual Defense Charter and pledged, in solemn ceremony, that no world would fall alone. Silence. Every one of them. The Drevathi ambassador had offered deep condolences and diplomatic pressure. The Saluan had cited unacceptable strategic risk to their core systems. The Twari had not responded at all. And so Valoria Prime had prepared to die. Commander. Via again, voice cracking. The collective ships are moving into firing formation. Zyrex straightened his spine. This was how it ended, not with salvation, but with the dignity of those who faced the end without flinching. He would order his platforms to fire until they could fire no more. He would make the Oran pay for every minute, every breath, every second those transport ships needed to escape. All stations, he said into the comms, his voice filling every corridor of Ka-7, this is Commander Zyrex Thorne. We knew when we took our posts that this day might come. Today, it has come. But we do not fire for victory, we fire for time. Every moment we buy is a life that escapes. Every shot we take is a child that breathes tomorrow. Man your weapons. Make them remember us. A long silence. Then, across every platform, across every crew channel, a sound he hadn't expected. Cheering. His people were cheering. His 4 eyes burned in a way they had not since his youngest hatching day. He opened his mouth to give the order to fire. And then every sensor on Ka-7 screamed at once. Commander. The sensor officer's voice had gone entirely flat, the way voices go when the brain refuses to process what the eyes are reading. I'm detecting new contacts. Jump signatures. Multiple. Very, very large. Zyrex crossed the bridge in 4 strides. He looked at the screen. He looked again. That can't be right, Via whispered. Those readings? How many? Zyrex asked. The sensor officer's fingers trembled as she recalibrated. I'm counting, 43 capital ships. 15 carrier groups. 270 escort vessels. She looked up. Commander, those aren't Conclave IFF signatures. The stars at the edge of the system bloomed with light. Not the cold, ugly light of weapons fire, but the blue-white cascade of hyperspace exit signatures, dozens of them tearing open at once like wounds in the fabric of space, each one disgorging something enormous and purposeful and fast. Ships that moved with the confidence of things that had crossed the void before and feared it not at all. Ships painted in the deep blue and silver of a civilization Zyrex had only seen in conclave databases, a young species, relatively speaking. barely 2 centuries into spaceflight. A civilization that the elder races sometimes dismissed as too emotional, too chaotic, too loud to be taken seriously. The humans had come. The lead vessel broke from the formation like a blade from a sheath, a ship longer than Ka-7's entire station arm, its hull bearing the seal of something called United Earth Fleet Command, its running lights blazing in the dark like a challenge thrown directly at the Oran Collective. And at its prow, a name stenciled in letters a kilometer high. UES Unbroken. The communication channel crackled open before Zyrex could even reach for his headset. Valoria Defense Command, this is Admiral Ethan Cross of the United Earth Fleet, commanding the 3rd Expeditionary Armada. The voice was calm. Unhurried. A low, measured baritone that somehow carried absolute weight. We received your distress signal 11 days ago. I apologize for the travel time, we came from the other side of the arm. Please confirm your status and hold your current positions. You are no longer alone. The bridge of Ka-7 went completely silent. Then Lieutenant Via made a sound Zyrex had never heard from her before, something between a sob and a laugh, a sound of pure, stunned, animal relief. Zyrex pressed the transmit key. Admiral Cross. He had to stop. Clear his throat. Try again. This is Commander Zyrex Thorn, Veldrani Defense Command. Our status is critical. We have 17 Oran dreadnoughts in firing formation. Civilian transports are 40 minutes from safe orbit. We have 3 platforms remaining, 2 heavily damaged. Copy that, Commander. A brief pause. Not uncertainty, calculation. 40 minutes is plenty. Sit tight. What happened next, Zyrex Thorn would spend the rest of his life attempting to describe accurately, and would fail every time. The human fleet did not simply arrive. It performed. The 43 capital ships came in not as a wall but as a deliberate architecture, layered, interlocking, each vessel occupying a specific lane with a precision that spoke of 10,000 hours of joint simulation and a military doctrine refined by 2 centuries of hard lessons learned on the bloodiest battlefields their world had ever produced. The escort wings split into 3 groups without a single order audible on any open channel, moving to bracket the Oran formation from above and below and flanking simultaneously, giving the collective commanders nowhere to concentrate their fire that wasn't also a trap. And at the center of it all, the Unbroken, Admiral Ethan Cross's flagship, sailing directly toward the largest Oran dreadnought without deviation or hesitation. The Oran opened fire first. They had to, the geometry was forcing their hand. 17 dreadnoughts unloaded into the incoming formation, and the humans rolled and wove and redirected, their point defense systems creating a lattice of intercepting fire so dense it looked like a wall of light. Ships took hits. Zyrex watched human vessels absorb impacts that would have crippled Veldrani ships and continue their firing solutions without breaking formation. They did not retreat. They did not scatter. They pressed. Admiral Cross came onto the open channel again, not to his fleet, but to the Oran Collective. Oran Fleet Commander, this is Admiral Ethan Cross of the United Earth Fleet. You are engaging a protected world under the Mutual Defense Charter, which Earth signed 8 months ago. I am giving you one opportunity to stand down your weapons, withdraw from this system, and surrender your command codes for war crimes processing. This offer expires in 60 seconds. Zyrex heard the translation of the Oran response. It was colorful. Dismissive. The Oran, like many elder civilizations, had a deeply held belief that humanity was a curiosity, not a threat. Young. Impulsive. Barely civilized. Understood, said Admiral Cross. 60 seconds was generous anyway. What followed was not a battle in any form Zyrex recognized. It was a systematic, methodical, almost surgical dismantling of a force that had believed itself invincible. The humans fought the way Zyrex imagined a species would fight when it had spent 10,000 years perfecting war on a single, competitive, resource-scarce world before ever reaching the stars, with a ferocity that was not rage but craft, every shot placed, every maneuver coordinated, every sacrifice calculated against a larger design. They hit shield harmonics with rotational fire patterns. They used their smaller escorts not as protection but as bait, drawing orange ships out of formation, isolating them, and then overwhelming them with concentrated fire before they could recover. In 26 minutes, 7 Oran dreadnoughts were disabled or destroyed. In 31 minutes, the remaining 10 had broadcast a combined surrender signal. In 38 minutes, 2 full minutes before the last civilian transport cleared the gravity well, the battle was over. Admiral Ethan Cross materialized on the viewscreen of Ka-7 in person, a lean man with gray at his temples and the kind of quiet eyes that had looked at difficult things for a long time and learned not to look away. He was not what Zyrex had imagined. He was unremarkable, in the specific way that truly competent people often are. "Commander Thorne," Cross said. "Your people held. That matters." Zyrex held himself as straight as his exhausted body allowed. "Admiral Cross. You came." The human tilted his head slightly. "You called. Others did not." Cross was quiet for a moment. Then, simply, "We're not others." Zyrex Thorne looked at the man on his screen, this representative of a species barely 2 centuries old, who had crossed the galaxy in 11 days because a stranger had asked for help, and understood, perhaps for the first time, why the elder races were wrong to dismiss them. Humanity was not dangerous because it was powerful. It was dangerous because it showed up.